Concerns about the security of the Soviet stockpile heightened in 1997 when Russian military officials admitted the existence of so-called suitcase nukes, small kiloton devices capable of taking out large chunks of a major city, say New York or even Las Vegas. Senior Russian officials claim that more than 100 small atomic devices were made and that perhaps dozens are unaccounted for. The fear is that a few may have ended up on the black market.
Now let's lighten it up and let's see what Sean Strickland said about Kamala Harris being a succubus, okay? Because this is pretty funny. So Sean Strickland just lit the world on fire with a handful of comments. Some of them about 9/11, some of them about Kamala Harris, some about the debate, some of them about John McCain, some of them about George Bush. So that is what we're going to cover in this video. And I also am going to say thank you, Sean Strickland, for starting us off with the 9/11 portion, because I did a big portion on 9/11 yesterday. And I just didn't feel comfortable putting it out on 9/11 because it just felt, felt dirty, you know, because it's about the conspiracy theory and what my theory is of why this happened, assuming that it was a conspiracy. Like, why did they do it? Okay. And I've done a lot of research into this, and you're going to see that shortly. So we're just going to start right into this thing, and that is what we're going to do. So look at Sean Strickland tweets or posts on X, 9/11, never forget 15 Saudis came to the U.S. and stayed Saudi spy. Then they hijacked a plane. Never forget that Obama blocked prosecution. Never forget we invaded Afghanistan to kill a man in Pakistan before an election. Traitors, all of them. So I'm actually not 100% sure exactly, like, this is not, I don't know. I mean, you know, he's got limited characters on X. And so, but if what he's saying is shadiness during 9/11, yeah, I agree with you, Sean Strickland. And that is why we are going to take a little detour, and I'm going to show you what I filmed yesterday relating to why 9/11 actually happened, in my opinion. And spoiler, it's not just a bunch of random hijackers that, flew planes into buildings. So let's look at that. First, let's look at the best sponsor on earth. Let me tell you about the sponsor of this video, Prize Picks. And guess what, dude? This is the best sponsor I've ever had, because you want to know what I have to do for my ads is I get to play the game. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy company in the world. And guess what? You want to know how creative this game is? All you do is you pick a handful of people you think are going to perform over or under the stat line that is given, and then you pick them. And if you pick 2 correctly in the same play, then you win X amount of dollars. And if you pick 3 correctly in the same play, you win X amount of dollars. You can play up to 6 people, and you can win a fortune if you get 6 people right. Now, Mike McDaniel is my boy, and thus I'm a Dolphins fan, so I'm making a lineup straight up Dolphins, okay? And as you can see over here, I already have 5 picks. I'm not going to walk you through every single one of them. Just believe me, here's what I'm going with. Tyreek Hill is going to go off. Go off. I know McDaniel. I know Tyreek had this problem this week. I know McDaniel is going to try to get him 200 yards and like 60 touchdowns. So I'm doing lots of picks that are like, yeah, Tyreek is going to go off. I'm putting $20 in play for this lineup, and I'll win $620 if all 6 of these hit. And guess what? Even if I don't hit 6, I still win a bunch of money if I hit 5. And if I hit 4, I get my money back. So go ahead and go to the link in the description and use code JesseOnFire to receive a guaranteed $50 once you play $5 in lineups. Once again, go to the link in the description, use promo code JesseOnFire to receive a guaranteed $50 once you play $5 in lineups. All right, now let's talk 9/11. We're going to talk about why September 11th happened. If we are going to live in a world where we have thrown out the idea that it is exactly what the official story is, because I feel like the majority of my viewers do not believe in mainstream automatic narratives that, like, okay, this is what they said, here's exactly what happened. And like, you know, on 9/11, a pretty easy one to start with that would kind of, delegitimize the official story would be the passport of one of the terrorists just being found on ground zero. Like, oh, just the corner got burned, huh? It's like, yeah, but here it is. Now, if you've always struggled with the story about the passport being found at ground zero and then turned into the intelligence agencies, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to this channel? Because you are among friends, and that will ensure that you see more of my content. Because if you are not subscribed, I am telling you right now, it is very unlikely that you will see the majority of my content when I'm talking about this kind of thing. So if you subscribe, you will at least be suggested my content, and it's very helpful to the channel. So thank you guys very much. Here's how we know who was on there. Here's their passport. You're all, jet fuel didn't do it. They're like, nope, jet fuel did not incinerate the passport. You're all, but jet fuel incinerated the support columns enough to where the entire building imploded. Oh yeah, that is exactly right. You're all, but it didn't do away with a paper passport. No, it didn't. That's how we know who was on the plane. You're all, okay. So at least you know there's some shenanigans there, unless you're an idiot, because no one should believe that story, all right? But the problem with all of the 9/11 conspiracy theories is that no one ever talks about why. Why would they have done this? And I can say pretty confidently that I have the best explanation for why the United States government would have been involved in the 9/11 attacks if they were. I'm not saying they were. I'm not saying they weren't. But I am telling you, I have a pretty strong theory, and I will say straight up, the best theory for why they would have done it. And that is what we're going to talk about today. And if you've heard me talk about this before, today I'm going to show you a lot of videos that will support exactly what I'm saying. And we'll start right there, as a matter of fact. Now, I've never believed that anyone in the American government, whether they're in the intelligence agencies or any other, can convince themselves that they're doing a good thing or something that is even moderately defensible if they are killing thousands of Americans, unless there is a greater good. I don't believe in they want to go and just make lots of money on oil. I don't believe that. I don't believe people can roll that evil that they would do that. My belief is that to make a decision like that, you have to believe that you are saving more lives than you are taking by an exponential amount. Okay. And so suitcase nukes, the suitcase nukes, which have been missing from the Soviet Union for decades, is what we're talking about. And I want to tell you exactly what we're talking about first in a super quick 20-second video. And then we're going to get into more information about this and why this applies directly to the 9/11 attacks.
There's the most frightening threat of all, a nuclear bomb tucked inside a suitcase.
That's the ultimate nightmare, that some terrorist group will get their hands on a nuclear device and set it off in New York or Washington or some other city.
Okay, so that is obviously not giving you a ton of information yet. So let's move over to this one now, and let's talk about the threat of suitcase nukes, okay? And this is about a 6-minute video, and believe me, you are going to wish that you had not seen it after this. Well, actually, we probably nullified this risk during the aftermath of 9/11, but let's watch this so you guys understand what was probably at stake when we're talking about 9/11, because think of the reaction that you would need to have globally if you believed or you had intelligence that these guys were out there actively trying to attain these things to blow up American cities.
A Pakistani journalist who interviewed Osama bin Laden says the terrorist leader claims to have his own nuclear and chemical capabilities.
Military experts have been speculating on where bin Laden or others might gain access to atomic weapons, and much of the speculation focused on so-called suitcase nukes.
George Knapp spoke with some locals who have some hands-on experience with those kind of weapons.
This is how long? This is what 9/11. What 2 months after 9/11? 2 months after 9/11. Okay. So you have 9/11 happen. Now the whole world is activated and everybody is like, we need to go get them, right? And now we're talking about suitcase nukes right afterwards.
Weapons. He's here with the story. George.
Gary and Paul, a suitcase nuke is one nickname for the devices. There is also the eerie acronym SODOMs, Small Atomic Demolition Munitions. The official position of our military is that it's possible but unlikely that bin Laden has acquired suitcase bombs. Privately, there is concern that crude atomic devices in the hands of terrorists could be used against us. Southern Nevada is home to some of the world's foremost experts on nuclear weapons, even a few who've had their hands on atomic bombs small enough to hide in a backpack.
He said that if United States of America is going to use nuclear and chemical weapons against us, then we reserve the right to respond back. But we will not use these kind of weapons first. We will retaliate. And he used again and again the word nuclear deterrent.
Put the words nuclear and bin Laden in the same sentence and you will get people's attention. This Pakistani journalist says he interviewed terrorist mastermind Osama bin Laden over the weekend and was led to believe that bin Laden has already purchased nuclear weapons, devices possibly stolen from the former Soviet Union.
Now, what are you going to do if you have intelligence this is a fact? And we're going to get into the suitcase nukes shortly. What are you going to do? How are you going to get the American people behind what you need to do here?
Concerns about the security of the Soviet stockpile heightened in 1997 when Russian military officials admitted the existence of so-called suitcase nukes, small kiloton devices capable of taking out large chunks of a major city, say New York or even Las Vegas. Senior Russian officials claim that more than 100 small atomic devices were made and that perhaps dozens are unaccounted for. The fear is that a few may have ended up on the black market.
It is well.
84 are missing. Okay. I have personally seen the video of the Russian general at the United Nations saying this in absolute open forum. Okay. This is not some kind of like I'm telling you, I've personally seen this video.
Well known that Mr. bin Laden and others, at least as I read, have tried for some time to buy nuclear weapons, and I suppose that that's theoretically achievable.
As a scientist for Livermore Labs, Troy Wade helped to assemble the atomic devices that were uncorked at the Nevada test site in decades past. He is also a co-founder of NEST, the Nuclear Emergency Search Team, which would be dispatched in the event of a threatened nuclear event. Wade admits even with the scientific expertise and tons of sophisticated equipment at its disposal, NEST would have to get very lucky to catch someone smuggling a small atomic bomb into a major city. Is it possible that a Russian device is in the hands of bad guys?
I do, however, remember a very senior Clinton administration official saying that with high confidence they could account for 99% of the Soviet weapons. With my background, that is not a very comfortable answer.
Wade confirms the U.S. built its own version of the suitcase nuke, a device known as a Sodom. Teams of commandos were trained to strap the bombs onto their backs and jump out of airplanes.
This crew right here, we could carry a Sodom with us and put it anywhere in America. And unless people were checking us with Geiger counters, they would never know. It doesn't look like any kind of conventional weapon. Doesn't look like a bomb.
It looks like a suitcase. Okay? It looks like a suitcase, just a suitcase that can level half your city.
Former Green Beret Commander James Bo Greitz was a team leader in the Sodom program. He trained with the devices, learned to assemble them, and says he was told the Russians may have slipped a few into America, where they remain squirreled away.
All Osama bin Laden would have to do is to purchase the cache site in America. All of the Sadoms are dirty bombs. They throw up in debris and fallout, stuff that will kill you far down range because it is so hot. A 10 KT Sadom detonated, for example, in Las Vegas would take out Nellis Air Force Base and all the way down the Strip.
So here's what people don't like. Again, I've talked about this a million times. I know way more about nuclear weapons than I probably should, but people think that radiation, like if you tell just like the average person, like, oh, the person's going to get radiation poisoning, they think it's like a mist or something, it's like, okay, so it's just a mist. We'll be fine. Like we just get inside and don't get hit with that. It's not a mist. Okay. I mean, it can be dispersed that way, but it sticks to everything. Like it sticks to fucking everything. So if you have a dirty bomb and it goes boom, it's not like you just have to wait it out. The radiation, literally, the radioactive material is stuck to every single surface in this gigantic area. And in case you guys are unclear on how radiation behaves when it encounters humans, you die, okay? You die. The amount of exposure determines how fast you die or how horrifying it is.
We've not had any indication from defectors, from scientists, official meetings saying, by the way, we've got some devices that we need to go pick up, or you need to be concerned.
This is irrelevant. Like what he's talking about here is just like, have the Russians left them in the United States? That's not relevant. What we're talking about here as it relates to 9/11, I'm going to skip this guy because I've seen this, is the intelligence that Osama bin Laden was out actively either already acquiring or trying to acquire the missing 84 suitcase nukes so that he can bring them into the United States and detonate them. And earlier in the thing you're saying, you're hearing them say, we don't have any realistic way where we would be able to capture these. Like there's a million ways that these guys could get them into domestic soil. And how many let's say they got 20. Let's say they got 10. How many American cities need to get blown up for the world to just implode? 3? 2? You know what I mean? So that's the world that in my mind, in the event that the government was behind 9/11 and you need a real reason to do this. Like it's like, okay, yeah, but but what about the oil over there? And what about they did this? What about they did this? Okay, right. Okay, now in a situation where they are forced to go do a thing like, go literally torture everybody that they have to in order to make sure that they capture all of these weapons. Well, they're also going to do whatever else they're going to do while they're over there. They're like, hey, well, listen, man. Listen, hey. You know, we're already over here, so. And so coming from a person who knows an awful lot about 9/11 conspiracy theories, you know, like the fact that there was 25 times the normal trading on airline stocks in a couple of these major financial institutions the day before 9/11, like 25x normal trading, and all of it was shorting the airline stocks. Seems like someone in the know knew something, you know? That's always their dead giveaway, dude. They can't help themselves, just like what I'm saying right here about like, you know, oh, well, I mean, listen, we got to stop the nukes. But, you know, since we're already over here, I mean, we could also capture all of the, opium fields, and we can also capture all this oil, and we can start the new American century. You guys have heard that term before, I assume? If not, this is going to be a much longer video. I'm not going to do it in this video, but you should look up the new American century, George Bush and Dick Cheney. Primarily Dick Cheney, though, and Donald Rumsfeld. Those guys, you want to know what the deep state looks like? Those guys, okay? Those guys ran the world. And I'll be honest, I don't have enough information to know whether these guys are the greatest heroes that we've ever had or the greatest villains. I don't know. That is a word people should start getting, or a phrase people should start getting familiar with, because Dick Cheney's an evil whatever, right? It's like, yeah, but you don't really know because you don't have enough information, because hypothetically, in the situation I'm laying out, like, let's say in the worst case scenario that we really did, like the government actually orchestrated 9/11, you know, remote control planes, controlled demolitions, Building 7, bam, all of that is to cover up evidence, you know. Let's just say all of that is all 100% legit. Molten metal coming down from thermite that was inside of the jets, jet fuel, all that stuff. Let's say all of it's real. And it was our government behind it, the intelligence agencies. Okay, well, if you found out that what they knew, and they had found out 3 months prior, is that Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda had captured a dozen suitcase nukes with the intention of bringing them into the United States to detonate a dozen cities on the same day. What do you think about that? You know? And you have a situation, you cannot tell the American people, you can't, because it'll panic, it'll destroy society without the bombs even having to go off. You have to give them a reason to support the thing that they need to do. What do you think about it now? I'm not telling you I feel one way or the other. I'm just saying, let's just put yourself in one of the most impossible decisions that you could possibly have. What do you think then? You know what I mean? So that is, that's my theory. I'm just going to say it. That's my theory. I mean, I'm not saying that I am convinced for sure that the government did 9/11, but I'm saying if they did do 9/11, I would bet a lot that is why, you know? But, I also understand the psychology of these, you know, global, you know, cabal people. Like, as an example, let's say that there was a global pandemic and you were going to implement, jab cards and all of these, you know, global infrastructure things that somehow were going to lead to you making $1 trillion. I do believe that underneath that, I actually really do believe that there is a genuine fear of a global pandemic that would wipe out the human race. And it's like, look, so yeah, of course, yes, I am going to make $1 trillion. Yes. But, you know, I will also make sure that the entire human race does not get eradicated by a really scary virus, you know? So that's the world that I live in my mind, is like, I think that these people have to have a story that they're telling themselves, whether it's legit or not legit, where these things that if just on their face appear like cabal evil have some kind of moral justification. Okay? So that's my theory on 9/11. Thank you, Sean, for queuing that up, because I filmed it yesterday. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. Now, let's lighten it up a little bit, and let's look at what Sean Strickland said about Kamala Harris after the debate, or during the debate. So a little bit less serious. A little less serious, you know. You get two presidential candidates up on a stage lying to each other about whatever, and Sean Strickland dubbed Kamala Harrison. Kamala Harrison, you guys, a succubus during his live commentary of Tuesday's presidential debate. Unsurprisingly, the former UFC middleweight champion had few positive things to say about the current vice president during the simulcasted debate between Harris and former U.S. President Donald Trump, who is vying for a second term in the White House after being voted out by Americans 4 years ago. So here's Sean Strickland saying, Kamala Harris, we will fix the housing shortage, the economy, and immigration. Y'all, where has this little succubus been the last 4 years? Getting worse the moment the dead body and succubus entered office. Presidential debate. That is, I mean, listen, dude, is that not true? And then he said, watching Kamala Harris try not to giggle while real Donald Trump is talking about Afghanistan. She almost let the soulless politician show. Yeah, dude. I mean, listen, I am going to say what everybody else is thinking. Okay. Here's what I'm going to say. These are sunglasses. That's not what I was going to say. Sean Strickland is pointing out something that I would say, which is that you can't trust anything she says. Nothing. You cannot trust a single thing that she says. How could you? Okay. The idea that, oh, we're going to go do this, this, and this is ridiculous. It's absurd. You've been in office for almost 4 years. You've done nothing. The thing you were known for during your vice presidency is doing nothing. Having no effect on anything, going onto stages and then word vomiting random things in a row. How? I'm sorry, Democratic voters. I know I have fans, but like, how could you go from everyone has collectively agreed that she's a joke, right? Before you knew she was going to be running for president, everyone's all, dude, this shit. Man, Kamala sucks, man. She sucks. To all of a sudden, oh, the world is on her shoulders. Go, girl. You are the queen. It's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Okay? Shut up. I just want to remind you guys that how she got her political start was she was the mistress of the mayor of San Francisco. Okay? That's a fact. She was Mayor Willie Brown's mistress. And then at like age 27, he put her into these government jobs that she had no experience for whatsoever. She was like, Daddy, I don't want to have to work. I want to be able to be around you, Daddy. How can I be around you? And then like people won't ask all these questions, you know? You know how well I learn on the job. I made this joke yesterday, but I'm going to say it again because I thought it was really funny. You know, I learned so good on the job. You told me that you liked this better and I learned how to do it like that better. So just put me in this role. You know how well I learn, or maybe, I mean, if you won't do it, maybe I'll forget how you like it. Maybe I won't learn so good. What do you think about that, Mayor Willie Brown? Because I like Big Willie. You're a Big Willie, and I like your other Big Willie too. I mean, if you want me to keep on liking your Big Willie, I'm going to need a government job. You know what I mean? It's like, if that's your political start, I don't understand how anyone is just kind of like, oh yeah. And then you have any other stuff like that in your face? It's like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you guys should look into her romantic history with Montel Williams, you know? That's a little bit embarrassing also. I don't care. If I went to dinner with her, I would probably like her, you know? Like if we went to dinner, I'd probably be like, yeah, she's nice, you know? She's nice. She's whatever, you know? I don't expect a person like her to be able to stand up to the powers that be. Let me actually bring this back to the nuclear conversation, okay? So I had a conversation with someone recently in my life that I love very much, who is definitely not a supporter of the big guy and is trying to they actually are straight up like, I am not a Kamala person either. They will never vote for the big guy, but they also are like, I'm not stoked at all about Kamala. They're not even sure if they're going to vote for her. But, you know, one of the things that they say about why they won't vote for this guy is that I'm just afraid about his temperament when it comes to the nuclear football. I'm like, oh my God. Dude, do you understand how this actually works? Like, do you not understand how this works? Do you think that the president just grabs the nuclear football and on his own is all right, let's go, guys. Let's fire off the nukes. That's not how it works. Joint Chiefs of Staff will come and they will give you a situation room. They're predicting the situation and they're going to tell you the lay of the land and what your options are, and they will make a recommendation. Okay. What you need is someone who can say, no, thank you for your recommendation to fire nuclear weapons at people. Okay. If you have a weak person who is used to doing what men say, and they say, this is what we need to do, they're the one that's the danger. That's the one that's the danger of actually blowing up the world. Okay. If you ask me, and I am far from a perfect person. I'm an idiot. Except in one category, and that is with people. And I am telling you unequivocally, with absolutely no doubt, that if you're asking me to tell you which the bigger risk of a nuclear exchange is between Kamala and Trump, there's no question it's Kamala. Absolutely no question in my mind. Not because she wants to nuke people, because she's weak. Not because she's strong, because she's weak. Trump is strong. But being strong in the negotiating room and playing hardball, that is what keeps you from actually having to get to nukes. Okay, that is what people do not understand. Strength is what leads to peace, not weakness. When people are weak, then you don't really know what they're going to do. A strong person can look you in the face and be like, look, we're not doing this. All right? Like, we're not doing this. I am not firing nukes. If you think that guy is going to kill a bunch of women and children for his ego, you do not understand him at all. That's not accurate. There is no scenario where that's the case. His ego will not play into it if in terms of whether we're going to fire off nuclear weapons. And I realize he has an enormous ego, obviously. One of the biggest ever. But he's not going to kill women and kids over it. He's not going to kill women and kids over it. I do not believe that. And he's been tested, and he didn't. I've been talking long enough. That's enough. Thank you, Sean.